So a couple weeks ago, I made the mistake of flying to Hawaii to buy a sports card collection. Long story short, I overpaid for it. One of the cards I thought was valuable was mislabeled by PSA. It was just a mess. I knew I made a mistake, but I posted a video of my experience, and boy, did people make sure to emphasize that I made a mistake. A ton of comments: you don't know what you're doing, you're an idiot, what were you thinking, you should leave the sports card hobby, and things that were a lot meaner that I'm not going to dignify by popping up here. While I'm not going to leave the sports card world, I really had no experience buying sports card collections, so I knew I needed some help. And one comment in particular gave me a perfect idea. They said I should talk to Chris Sewall. He has a YouTube channel, Baseball Card Collector Investor Dealer. He's been doing this for almost 30 years and he specializes in buying big sports card collections. So I decided to have him on to ask him how he makes such big sports card deals and what would he have done if he was in my shoes buying this collection.
By the way, that must have been fun to go to Hawaii on
Very cool.
on your
Yep.
for work.
I felt like a big shot for about a couple hours, and then things came crashing down. But hey, like people even said, worst case, I still got a trip to Hawaii out of it.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I mean, so that's the first sort of question I had for you is like, because you mentioned it in the video, but do you consider the trip like part of your expenses? Because normally you would, or you should, or I would. But if you're viewing it as a free Hawaii trip on, you're looking to just sort of break even and pay for your trip. I don't know, how were you viewing it going in, and how did you view it afterwards?
I definitely like if I had. It wasn't, I didn't consider it a full trip basically. Like I wasn't looking to just, it was, I would say in my head, it was a small benefit because I knew I would be there for such a short amount of time, right? Like,
Yeah.
ideally I would have gotten to go with my girlfriend and spent a whole week. Then I would have been like, I'm chilling. The deal's almost an accessory to the trip. But that's the other thing too, because I'm new to this, I underestimated how much work I would have. Because I was like, okay, I have 2 days. I'll basically get 1.5 days to spend at the beach. I literally touched water for like 5 minutes. I was like, oh man, what a waste, because I was so busy. I had to break down the cards. I had to run to get luggage and everything. So I don't know. That was another thing. I'm not even sure how I looked at it, I guess.
Well, that's one. I mean, I really loved that video because it does hit on some things that the average person just wouldn't even consider. It's like, oh, you're gonna drive to Cincinnati and buy a collection and drive back, or whatever, or fly back, whatever you're gonna do. And the thought is just, oh, you're gonna pay X for the cards and you're gonna sell them for Y, and the difference is your profit. But you got to consider your flight, your hotel, your car rental, your gas expenses, and the things like packing it up, going to the post office. Oh, the post office is closed, we got to go again tomorrow. Oh, they don't accept this size package. Oh, we got to go buy a box. So we got to go buy shipping tape. This is like extremely time consuming stuff that people probably don't consider. And when you're buying a large collection out of town, you got to factor all that in. So I like that your video sort of touched on some of that stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things I underestimated as well, and I'm still learning, right? And like, we're not going to turn this into a sob story for dealers/YouTubers. I don't think anyone's going to watch this and think you have the hardest job in the world. But a lot of times when I'm buying, people are like, oh, you're going to make 30% or whatever it is. It's like, it's a lot of work, man. Like this was so, I was so stressed in Hawaii, as I kind of said, like, I didn't even I had hardly, once again, I have the worst job in the world. I feel like I didn't have any fun because I was running the post office and then it didn't fit and I had to break it down. And then that's not even to mention getting home and uploading everything. Like I'm still learning more, and also things that are going to go wrong. Things like some of the slabs got cracked coming back because I put it in the wrong size box. 100% my mistake, but like these things kind of happen. What's your general, so if someone came to you with a big sports card collection, what is generally how you break it down? Like what is your process?
Oh man, it's so case by case basis. I mean, I generally try to separate it by value, like the most value. I mean, in simplest terms, you can pay the highest percentage for the most valuable stuff. There's lots of exceptions to that, but you break it down by value and sort of, okay, this type of stuff I can pay 80% on, this type 70, 60, 50, whatever. But that's it's really a case by case basis. Yeah.
At this point, how much of that is feel versus you almost looking up every card? Because that's one of the things that has been tough for me. It's like I just, on a big collection, I don't have time to even necessarily place those in all those different values if it's a lot of cards.
Yeah, I mean, if I mean, I'm at the point where it's very rare where I will not recognize a card enough to make a general
Okay.
estimate on its value. It certainly happens, and I certainly will miss stuff. I'm not saying that, but if I'm going through a collection, I'll actually often make a pile of this is the stuff I need to check because I don't know if this is a $10 card or a $50 card or whatever. I don't know how much time you had at the guy's house. That actually plays a big part because if you have like all day, I'll do that as much as necessary. But sometimes you only have an hour and you can't. And in those cases, you just have to be ultra conservative on the stuff you don't know. And
Yeah.
there's no other fair way to you have to be kind of.
Well, that was kind of part of my problem as well, and I think what some people were maybe confused on is we agreed on the deal before I had ever seen anything in person.
That's a mistake.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Here's my thinking.
Yeah.
This is once again, man, this is the best thing ever having you on. What was I supposed to do? Because I couldn't book a flight. Imagine if I go to Hawaii, I look through it, and he's like, sorry, it doesn't work for me. Like, I'm just out $1,000. Take my behind home out $1,000. That didn't really seem like an option for me.
No, that's a tough one. I would have. Could you have agreed on like just the graded stuff up front? That's actually probably how I would have tried to do it.
Okay.
Like let's come to a price on the graded stuff, and then while I'm there, we can make a separate deal on the ungraded stuff. Because the graded stuff you can at least comp out and know you're paying fair on that.
Yeah.
But do you think that could have been an option?
Or 100%. And actually, I thought about doing that, and that's probably what I should have done. I was like, in my head, I was like, let's at least agree on something before I get there.
Yeah.
And then when I get there, I can figure out the rest of the stuff, so I know I at least have something.
So one thing you said in the video, which I was so you said you were paying 80%. You were going to pay 80%. Was that just so I was clear? Were you paying 80% just for the slabs? And then everything else you weren't factoring it in, or were you roughly paying 80% of what you thought the whole value was?
Yeah. So how I looked at it was, initially I was like, if I pay 80% on the slabs and the raw cards, how close to even does that get me? So even I, the idiot I am who made this bad decision, I would never want to pay 80% on a whole collection. I was just kind of, like you said, not factoring the other. I knew there was a lot of bulk and even raw cards that I just happened to not throw in there. I was like, okay, if I do 80%, where does that get? Like how, basically, one of the things you've talked about, and not to answer the questions for you, but it's like, how quickly can I get back to even, basically? And I was like, okay, all these at 80%, where does that get me?
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, because I 80%. You can't pay that on a bulk deal. So at a show, you can, right? If somebody walks up with a cool card, you can often pay 80% happily. But yeah, in a bulk deal, I mean, you mentioned in the video, when you got tons of $1 cards and $2 cards and $5 cards, by the way, that's my favorite thing. My favorite thing is to have bulk because I like to play with the cards.
Yeah.
So I enjoy that. But selling that is not, selling that's tough and takes a long time. A lot of work and a lot of time to sell through that stuff. So 80% will kill you if you continue that.
Real quick before we get into the rest of the video, I just want to give a special shout out to the presenting sponsor of today's video, Veriswap. If you're looking for the easiest, safest way to trade cards online, definitely check out Veriswap. Safe, secure, easy. Use my link in the description down below. And now back to the video.
You calculated the slabs and it was 80%, and then how much value was in the loose stuff?
This once again speaks to my lack of experience.
Dude, I have a bunch of these, so you shouldn't feel bad.
I had no idea, basically. I just was like, I think the number I got to was, I'll have to go back and look at the video, but I think I paid 6.8, not including my travel expenses. I want to say 80%, including the Kobe, got me to like 5.8 or something like that. So I was like, there's easily, I was like, there's so many cards. I was like, there's even just like, there's some Pokemon boxes and stuff in there. I was like, in my head, and I was correct, actually, to be fair to myself. I was like, I know my absolute worst case, I can send these to auction, I can do this, and that. I was like, my worst case is I'm breaking even. So I'm kind of willing to take the risk to see what else is in there. Because that's what, I FaceTime with them, and I kind of did, like I said, I did a kind of a spot check. I was like, oh, is there junk in here? And then he was like, oh, interesting. Basketball RPA out of 5, like just sitting in the box. And I was like, okay, even that, like, I know there's good stuff hiding in here. Let's take the risk on it.
Sure. Well, I mean, to be honest, for a trip to Hawaii, that's a risk that might be worth taking.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can worst case scenario break even and get a trip to Hawaii on it, that's, you won't be able to make a living doing that every month, I guess, but
True.
But if it's a one-off thing. But yeah, no, I had lots of break evens early on. For me, it was often when, I don't know if this happened to you. Once I'm looking at the collection, it's like too exciting. There's like no way I'm not going to buy it. And so even if he's too high, I wasn't disciplined enough to walk away at the time. And maybe, I don't know if that was an issue for you. I mean, like at the moment you bought it, did you feel like it was still a good buy?
When I pulled the trigger over messages, I thought it was a really good buy. I was very excited about it. Yeah. Once I actually picked it up and started looking a little bit, I got very nervous right away. Not because it wasn't, I'm not going to say it wasn't what I expected. Like I wasn't like, oh wow, this is like, it's kind of what I expected, but I was just like, oh geez, like it's going to be a lot of work. Like there's a lot of bulk cards in here I know I won't be able to sell. So I got nervous pretty quickly. I guess I kind of want to boil down some of this. I think you have a good understanding of how the Hawaii deal went at this point, or was there any other questions you had?
No, I think I understand it. I think the Kobe, it sounds like almost like shifted the deal from like a small profit to maybe a small loss. I don't know what the numbers will end up being, but maybe that one mistake, which by the way, I don't even know that I would even have a recommendation. I think that was almost like a truly unfortunate bad luck. I mean, I want to say I would have seen it, but I don't know that that's true.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, once again, I know you don't have all the information, and you have kind of answered a good amount of the questions here. But from what you know, someone comes to you, they message you on Instagram, they say, "Hey, I'm in the beautiful Hawaii. Here's some pictures of the more expensive slabs, the more expensive raw cards. Then I have a bunch of bulk. How would you have handled if this deal had come to you?"
Yeah, so touching a little bit before, I would have definitely agreed on something up front that, and that's very specific. Like I would have had him send me pictures of all the graded, and I would have made a list. You actually kind of did that, but I definitely wouldn't have thought of like an 80% type of thing. Yeah. I would have just agreed on a price for just the slabs, and then said we'll do the raw separately while I'm there. And made sure that made sense with the cost of the flight and stuff up front. And I mean, probably, to be honest, there's no way that deal would make sense. If it's a $7,000 deal, and I have to pay $1,200, travel expenses to Hawaii plus 3 days of my time or 2 days of my time, whatever it is, it's pretty unlikely that those numbers are going to work out. But if I really wanted to go to Hawaii, I might have made an exception.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I just thinking to myself, like a $7,000 deal in Hawaii, it's pretty unlikely that would pan out.
I like to provide value. We'll leave the people with one thing. I know this is a super broad question, but what general tips would you give people? I know a lot of people, they aspire to maybe do this full time or on the side, like, let's call it what it is, make a little bit of money from buying sports cards. What I wouldn't ask you, okay, who to buy, singles, blah, blah, all that stuff. But if people are looking to buy more in bulk, in collections, what kind of advice would you give them?
I would say that, so I get asked that a lot, and just do it. You're gonna, and don't worry so much if you do well on the first one. You're gonna mess up. Trust me, I messed up lots. You've made a bad, you're gonna mess up. Like, you're just gonna make some bad buys. You're gonna lose. Just do it. But the more you do it, the less you mess up. And don't overthink it. Get into the game. It's like get into the game and do it. And that applies to basically anything in life, right? If you think you're just gonna be awesome right out of the gate, you're not. You got to do it, mess up, learn, do it, mess up, learn, do it, mess up a little bit less, learn, and then over time you don't mess up as much.
100%. That's my biggest. No one asked me, but I'll give my advice as well to people who want to start a YouTube channel, especially about like sports cards. Same thing. I'm like, just do it, because
Same thing.
people are like, oh, I need to like. They'll get so fixated on like their first video and making it perfect. They're like, oh, it's no good. I'm like, it's
Nobody's gonna watch your first video.
right. I'm like, even if you put your whole life into this first video, I promise you, not only will no one watch it, it also won't be good.
Hey guys, this is Troy here, and with my first video, and I'm excited to share with you guys. Just some quick background on me.
Like,
Right. Absolutely.
you just gotta. I look back on my first videos, and like people have said this, but I'm like, oh my god, what was I doing? You just,
That's embarrassing.
yeah, like you just have to. You'll get better as you go, and also it's just, I can tell you exactly how it's going to go. It's going to be a slog, and you're not going to get views, and it's going to take a while. You just have to have to accept that.
It's the exact same concept. Yeah. No, nobody's going to just kill it on their first video, and nobody's going to just kill it on their first card collection.
Yep. 100%.
I mean, yeah.
Perfect way to wrap it up. Well, hey man, thank you so much for coming on and giving me the advice. I'm feeling a lot better about myself. I think next time I get out there and buy a collection, I can crush it.
All right, that was actually just a short clip from a long talk. We ended up talking for over an hour. Really, really fun. I think he's going to post the long form over on his channel. I'm sure you know him, Baseball Card Collector, Investor, Dealer. If you haven't, definitely go check him out. Stay tuned for that video over there. Pretty sure he's going to post it soon. Like and subscribe here if you did enjoy that, and we'll see you next time. Peace.